The first moment I realized I'd been betrayed wasn't when I noticed the missing money. It came when my mother looked at me and said, "You've always been so quiet. We thought you wouldn't mind." That line didn't hit me like an argument. It settled in like warm water over my face, suffocating and strangely familiar. I was standing in the same kitchen where I'd once scrubbed floors as a teenager, hands raw from bleach. The same floor where they now sat at the table, calm and content, sipping coffee from pristine white mugs like nothing had happened. Like this was business as usual. Like I shouldn't be surprised. It had only been minutes since I got off the phone with the bank. The manager, Lyle, his voice gentle, too soft for the news he was delivering, had told me my trust account had been repeatedly accessed. Significant withdrawals. And all by my parents. He explained how the clause had been triggered. The one I'd secretly added with a lawyer, my grandmother, the only family member who treated me like a person and not a placeholder, had introduced me to. That clause stated that if over 40% of the account was withdrawn without my consent, everything would freeze, and I'd be alerted. And now I was here, face to face with the very people who were supposed to protect me. The ones who brought me into the world. Watching them act like they hadn't drained the life savings that were meant to secure my future. My father looked me in the eye and said, "Your sister needed help. You don't have kids, no debts, no responsibilities." I laughed. Not because it was amusing, but because in that instant, I saw the truth, clear as glass. I was never their child. I was their fallback plan. The silent solution. The invisible emergency fund. There was no fight, not really. Just me, talking, trying to find solid ground while they sat there blinking slowly, waiting for me to finish so they could move on with their day. I told them about the car, the Range Rover, the expensive apartment, the lies, how they didn't even ask, didn't even bother to inform me, just took it. My mother repeated herself, like she was trying to lull me into compliance. "We assumed you'd understand." That phrase, so soft, so cruel in its ease. Maybe I punched the wall. Or maybe that happened only in my mind. It's hard to know anymore. My brain blurs the line between what I wanted to do and what I actually did. That clause, at least, had done its job. The bank froze what was left. They couldn't touch the remainder. But they'd already taken so much. Too much. Enough to make anything ahead feel tainted. The week after, I couldn't go to work. Not that I was fired. No one fired me. I just stopped showing up. I couldn't sit at my desk without trembling. The world became too loud, too sharp. Emails stacked up, unread. Calls rang out, unanswered. Friends messaged. I didn't respond. My threshold wasn't a breakdown. It was a man in a tie handing me a printout with quiet pity in his eyes. And then people began to disappear. Not all at once. My cousin unfollowed me on Instagram. A friend from school invited my sister to her wedding, not me. Christmas came, and when I walked through the door, my father said, "Don't start." As if my very existence was an act of aggression. I learned how shame doesn't always shout. Sometimes it's a murmur that follows you into every room. Conversations paused when I entered. Like I brought a smell no one wanted to talk about. I became the storm cloud people stepped around. So I left. No speeches. No emails. No tears. I packed a bag and drove until I didn't recognize the road. I ended up in a small town I couldn't even name now if I tried. Room 203 of a budget motel. Worn carpet and ancient TV. But it was quiet. And quiet was a start. I got a job washing dishes in a roadside diner. Then cooking. The woman who ran it, kind and tired, gave me scrambled eggs every shift. No one asked me why I was there. No one cared. It was beautiful. I fixed things. Light switches. Fences. Learned how to patch drywall. Made coffee for regulars who tipped and crumpled bills. And I slept. Not the twitchy half-sleep I used to endure back home. But real sleep. Heavy, still healing sleep. My hands grew rough. My skin browned under the sun. And something inside me changed. Hardened. Softened. I'm still not sure. One morning, a girl, Molly I think, came in crying. 17 maybe. Sat in silence. I brought her a grilled cheese and cocoa free of charge. She looked at me like I'd given her magic. She didn't say thank you, just nodded. That night, I broke down in the back alley. because for the first time in months, I gave someone exactly what I had always needed. A quiet kindness. No questions. No judgment. It's been a year. The money is still frozen. Not that there's much left. My parents reached out once. My sister sent an email that said, "You're being dramatic. Let it go." I didn't respond. Not because I'm angry anymore, but because some silences aren't punishments. They're boundaries. They're reclamation. I don't miss the trust fund. I miss believing someone out there had my back. But now, finally, I have my own. And that's enough. Sometimes, in my dreams, I revisit the house I grew up in. I see the sunlight pouring across the kitchen tiles. I watch my teenage self scrubbing the floor until his hands bleed. I whisper, "You don't owe them everything." He can't hear me, but I whisper it anyway. And maybe someday he will.